Hey guys, it's SickMotion here to finally do the new patch note review. I know I said I'd get it done, I think yesterday. I just haven't had much time to get at it, but it's finally here. So here's the patch 420 notes. Let's go down. They're super long. I'm gonna kind of be skimming through it just to keep the video to a reasonable amount of time. I guess they're trying to change a lot of things. There's a lot of things at the end of season 4 that I guess they weren't liking. That's why they're stressing strategic diversity. I think one of the really big things that they're stressing, and you can see it right here when you see Ziggs bomb, is if you're against a really poke-oriented comp and you don't have any way to either push them back, initiate onto them, or deal with that poke, you've kind of screwed yourself at champion select, and they don't like that. They want you to be able to pick the champions and team comps that you want and have a way to counter it. They didn't like it that the poke comp was, if you didn't have the right tools, pretty hard to deal with. That's one of their big points, but there's a lot of different changes. That's not the only change that they're doing. Um, you'll notice the number on the patch note that everyone's losing their mind about, and they added the fun little play tree every day. Wonderful. It's because they did a visual update to Maokai. So let's go down. Let's go down. Some really confusing stuff here. Stats gained per level. Rather than gaining a flat amount of stats per level, you have a flat growth stat that you gain a percentage of every level, and that percentage scales up as the game goes on. So early levels don't give you as much of a snowballing advantage, but you still end up, I think you end up with more stats by the end of the game than you do, well, you did currently, or did before. I guess it's not currently since this patch is live. And I haven't looked too much into the effects at level 1. I have noticed that I feel like I have a lot more health at level 1 on certain champions. Starting with the Doran's Blade without any kind of health masteries or runes, looking around 700 HP for some of the top lane champs. From what I've seen, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't been paying much attention to it, but it seems that it's going to be a bit different to get the feeling for that. I'm not going to go into that. One thing I'll note is the attack speed doesn't have the growth stat. The attack speed still looks like it's going the same. They changed mana regen and health regen to be a percentage of your base rather than some that you get every level. So that's a really big change as well. Kind of hard to explain. There's a lot of stuff that's going on with that as well. I think it ends up being a nerf to mana users early sustain at least. And I know one of the repercussions of it is manaless casters and manaless assassins have been running rampant because they don't care about the early game mana regen nerfs. I know Cat's been getting a lot of play lately. So the new champion is out. This is not the place to discuss her, but kind of cool. Maokai texture updates. The ones that I've noticed that got texture updated look really good. They look really nice. Not all of them got changed because some of them were newer. Azir got his base damage on his Q increased, so he'll be able to poke even harder with those dudes. They don't scale as well with that 0.1 ability power nerf, so they're kind of strong early with the Q, just base damage increase, but they're not going to go absolutely ham end game. And his E, the base shield amount, it gives you 20 health, which isn't going to be the make or break in most situations, but in like a really close 1v1, that definitely will give you the upper hand. They think that Amumu is going to be real strong in the new jungle, so his armor got kicked, lost 4 armor, and his damage per second at level 1 is now 1% as opposed to 1.5%, but it's actually higher at level 5, so it scales better. It just sucks more early. I played Amumu in the new jungle. I got destroyed. Maybe I just suck at Amumu, so I don't know if that was really merited or not, but it's the preseason, so there's a lot of time to change everything up right now. It's kind of the safe time to change stuff without it affecting ranked for the rest of the season. Evelyn's base armor went up, and her armor growth stat also went up. And this is a good time to discuss the growth stat. Or sorry, her growth stat went down, but it's a good time to discuss the growth stat anyway. Say her growth stat was 4. Instead of gaining 4 per level now, at level, I think level 1 to 2, you gain something like 70%. So you're going to gain 70% of 4. Once that goes up to 80%, you're going to be gaining 80% of 4. So it'll be confusing at the start, but once you wrap your head around it, it'll be really clean, and I think it makes it easier to update, change, and move around things in the game without screwing up a lot of stuff at the same time. Fiora got an AoE teamfight presence nerf, but her single target ult damage seems to be the same. It's got its flat damage nerfed. However, the same target single damage used to be you get 100% of the damage on the first tick, 4 other ticks that would do 25%. So it would end up being 200% damage. Now you get 100% on the first tick and then 4 ticks of 40%. So you get 60% more there. But the base damage was nerfed, and I think it ends up working to be about the same. The reason that they are doing that, as well as they nerfed the attack damage ratio on it, is Fiora was kind of like hit or miss. If she didn't really get to that point where she was able to take advantage in fights, you just felt like a dead weight on the team. And then when you were like even or a little bit ahead and you got that opportunistic ult off, everyone's dead now on their team and you have a lot of money. So that was kind of a problem. Really snowbally. One click of R at the right time kind of made you an unstoppable god for the rest of the game. Whole bunch of complicated, weird, confusing stuff with Gnar since his big form scaled per level, but now they changed the per level stuff to growth stat. So they changed a bunch of stuff on Gnar. They nerfed a little bit as well. I'm not going to go over the whole math thing. It kind of more confusing than anything. But the boomerang width got nerfed. So it was already skinny. It's even skinnier. More of an AD ratio on his Q and less of a base hit ratio. So it's going to be more rewarding to build AD, but less rewarding to just build that super tank build. You're not going to be getting the same amount of damage just relying on the base. The boulder toss got, let's see here, nerfed on the base damage as well, but it got a bit of a total attack damage increase. Hyper got pretty destroyed early. The base damage is 10 now from 25. It still scales up to be better than it was before, and the magic damage versus monsters is a little bit better. So I guess jungle Gnar is what they're going for. I don't agree with that. And Wallop got a big nerf early, 3-second cooldown increase, but then it got a 1-second cooldown reduction at later levels. So it kind of scales to be better, more utility, a little bit more damage as the game goes on, or if you build AD. His early game lane presence isn't going to be as strong. And like I said, they changed a bunch of stuff if you want to go and read that. It's one of the things I'm skipping. Heimer didn't have base HP per 5. He had his passive that gave him HP per 5, but since they changed the regen stat, they're going to just give him HP per 5, and they're taking it away from his passive, at least for himself. It still gives nearby stuff the regen, but just not to himself. Cat, like I was talking about earlier, running kind of rampant. Cooldown her ult greatly increased, so it's going to take a while to get that back up unless you're already snowballing and getting kills left and right and using your passive to get it up faster. And the damage, early damage, nerfed, endgame damage, same. I should note that the endgame cooldown on her ult is still the same as well. So, little bit of an early game reduction in power, but she still goes to the same point she did. And I think that the mana change, being a manaless caster, I think she'll still be pretty strong. Kha'Zix straight cooldown reduction nerf to his W, goes from 8 to 10. That's going to hurt him a lot in the new jungle. The new jungle beats you down really hard. Sustain is hard to find. Warwick runs rampant in it because he just right clicks and presses Q every so often, stays full health. The jungle scales a lot faster as well. It gains damage as the game goes on. You don't get to that point where you're like, oh yep, I'm level 5 and I got a jungle item. The jungle can't do anything to me for the rest of the game. It's hard. If you don't have sustain, you really feel it. And that nerf on the W, not only is it going to not let you poke as much in fights, slow as much in fights, it's going to make you less sustain in the jungle because, of course, it gives you that healing in the jungle. So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of makes him less favorable. Lee Sin base armor down a little bit and base health per 5. Like I said, the jungle's hard to sustain in, so that's going to make it even worse for him early. Powerball on Rammus. 10 seconds at all levels. Now it's 16. They're kind of targeting early game nerfs as opposed to the late game, just because Rammus level 1 Powerball would roll up in your lane and get your lane a kill because he has so much CC, and if he's able to use that Powerball even more often, he could roll up with the Powerball, and if the fight was kind of dragged on, he could Powerball again at the end of the fight. So that's probably going to be less of an issue with Rammus. And his armor shred on his taunt got nerfed all the way across the board, even at max level. Sion, they changed some of his health decay stuff to, I don't know, by the looks of it, be more rewarding to the tank build. Don't quote me on that. I kind of just skimmed over this. His health per 5 went down as well, so less sustained, but he's kind of. I never liked Sion to start, but he seems to be the whole, instead of leveling Q, leveling E in lane to poke farm and do all that stuff, and just kind of farming to be more of a Mundo status, tanky, unkillable dude. Kind of interesting with that. And there's a change to Warmogs that might help him, because his shield, the change to Warmogs we'll go over a little bit later, but if you haven't taken damage, it increases the regen. And his shield gives him a big shield based on his health, so the Warmog will help that out. And then you're not taking damage if they're hitting the shield. So as long as the Warmogs doesn't realize that is damage, and they realize his only health getting taken off is damage, Warmogs could be pretty crazy on him, because it's going to go from 1% of your missing health or 1% of your max health to 3%. So it triples the regen on Warmogs. Sona got a bit of a scaling nerf on her poke on her Q, and her heal is less potent. So its base went up, but 0.5 per missing one rather than 1. So it's a little bit less of a heal, and it costs more mana. So that's good for people who actually play against her. I go top. I've seen Sona like once in my life. Soraka can't throw bananas as hard. They don't hurt as much. They're a bit gooier. 6 damage off her basic auto attack, so there's that. And for anyone who plays solo Soraka, for whatever reason, gonna have a harder time auto attack last hitting. Astral Infusion, her range on her heal is increased by 100. I guess that's to make her less of a kind of a fighter in lane. So you're not gonna want to be throwing bananas because they're useless. Not useless, but they do less damage. And your heal is a longer range, so you can sit back and cower a little bit more. And the cooldown on her E was increased by a lot at level 1, and even a little bit at level 5. I hate that spell, by the way. I think it's really, really strong. It's really good. I like it when it's on my team. I don't like playing against it. And it also does really well against Warwick, who we're going to be talking about next. His ult got reduced cooldown, or increased cooldown, sorry. 20 seconds at level 1, 10 at level 2, and back to normal at level 3. So early game power, not as strong. But he is really, really strong at farming the jungle. His sustain makes him really scary. You just farm through the jungle, and you can just... The basic way that I play Warwick is I just go and gank when my ult's up, and I go back to farming. Because although you're not useless, you feel pretty useless when you're ganking without your ult. You're just running at your opponents, praying that they trip or something, because you're having a hard time getting up to them. The skirmisher smite, or whatever, you can smite your opponents to slow them, or the skirmisher smite with his ult, the one that makes you do true damage per auto attack. Every single one of his ult ticks counting as an auto attack does a lot of damage. And combine that with the Devourer, the new Feral Flare type-ish item, his ult does a lot of damage. Bunch of mass texture rebalances. Those characters look prettier. That's all about there. The early game kills give 100% now. Since they scaled back a certain few early game snowballing things, they can give you the 100% of the first blood kill gold reward. So that's awesome. Except the assist rewards only give you a quarter rather than 50 of the gold. So whoever's getting the kill will be richer, but whoever's getting a split on it's going to feel pretty impoverished. But that does scale back up. No point looking at the numbers, but you get the normal amount that you did, 50% at 5 minutes now. So if you're getting a kill before 5 minutes, it's awesome already. It's not for the rest of the game. So not that huge of a change, just a little bit of a shifting numbers around, rebalancing there. The fountain still heals you as quickly as it used to, basically, but it is more reactive. Instead of getting healed once every second and just feeling like you're getting clunky healed, it's kind of just like boosting you up 4 times a second, so it's much more consistent. You can actually see your health going up, which is nice. Death timers, once again, just a little bit of a rebalancing where they kind of end up working the same near the end, but death timers now start scaling at 35 minutes instead of 25, and death timers now scale at a different rate. So it's basically the same. Not going to get into it, but it's the same but different. Different way to get to the same point, pretty much. Down, down, down. Too long didn't read. Too long didn't read. All right, we'll talk about this one. The inhib tower is no longer a clunky cannon barrage, but more of a armor shredding laser beam of ice from space. The turret itself doesn't have as much health per 5 because the inhibitor turrets, of course, can heal. It doesn't have as much, but it doesn't really need as much because it's a lot scarier. The attack speed went way through the roof, 4 times a second. So the laser ticks 4 times a second. That's what the attack speed means. It ignores 82.5% of your armor, so forget building armor. It reduces the target's damage dealt. So if you're trying to backdoor that tower or fight someone on the tower and the tower starts shooting you, you're now dealing 15% less damage. And now you're slowed as well. So if you're going to regret that decision, now you're going to have to walk away shamefully even slower because it is icing you. When with every hit of the beam, it heats up. Blah blah blah. Long story short, it does 125% extra damage once it's heated up, and if it switches targets, it resets the heating up, and it has to start heating again. You can do the math there if you want to see how fast it actually stacks up. Let's see here. Inner turrets now have a regenerating shield that affects both themselves and nearby champions. They gain a growing shield, scaling up to a maximum of 200 health. That's kind of the first tower goes down, still the same. The second tower has the shield on itself that you break it, it won't regenerate for 30 seconds. If it doesn't take damage for 30 seconds, it'll start regenerating. But the shield that it gives to its allies is kind of, if you're getting poked down and they're poking you down slowly, like every, say, however long a Jace Q is, like every 10 seconds you're getting shot at, that shield will regenerate, so you're taking 200 less damage off of every single shot that you're taking. So it's a lot harder to siege down a tower solely from poking your opponents off and they can't do anything. And that was one of their main things that I was talking about at the beginning that they wanted to get out of. Holy moly, we're at 16 minutes. We gotta speed this up. It's taking way too long. Inhibitors take longer to spawn. Awesome. More opportunities to do stuff. Little bit of normalization on the turrets with their health and their armor and whatnot. They don't have different values for all of that. Minions no longer scale up over time for armor and magic resistance. Cannons no longer have base armor, but they do gain health to make them roughly as durable as before. So just they're kind of shifting stuff around, keeping it the same but different is, I guess, the best way to kind of explain this entire patch for most of it. Cannon waves now start spawning every 2 waves at 20 minutes instead of 35. A lot of people don't know that. 35 minutes into the game, every 2 waves instead of every 3 spawns a cannon minion. But now that's at 20, and now at 35, every wave spawns a cannon minion. So if you're focused on one lane and your other lane is pushing, it's a lot scarier having a cannon every wave rather than just a lot of minions in that lane. Because a lot of minions are going to be getting a lot of cannon minions, and those are going to gun down your turret if there's not anyone there to defend it. Baron now spawns at 20 minutes because it gives different buffs. We'll talk about these really quickly. You guys can go and check these buffs out on Baron to get the more detailed version of it. Baron just makes it so you can siege a lot more rather than just being stats on stats for the end game that just you can out brute force your opponent because you're stronger now. Now you're still stronger, so you can still try and take that route, but your minions are just demigods now as well. All the minions gain specific buffs to that minion class. The one that I'll point out that I think is pretty funny is your ranged cannon minion gains 600 range, and it shoots a gigantic AoE purple infused boulder of massive epic power proportions. It can shoot the tower further than the tower can shoot it, so it's just shooting up in the lane, rail gunning, sniping from the hills, and the enemy team is going to have a really hard time dealing with that if they don't have some kind of far range to try and grab that. I'm predicting Blitzcranks are going to be selected just to pull that minion in to kill it because it's going to be in dangerous territory. But yes, all the minions gain a specific thing. Go check that out. Hand of Baron. When you recall now, the recall channel time is reduced by 4 seconds, so it's faster. After a successful recall, you get kind of a mini home guard where you gain 50% movement speed for 8 seconds and you heal for 50% of your maximum health and mana. So you go back quicker and you're leaving the base quicker. You better, guys, start practicing your speed buying or else you're going to not be able to make use out of that. Dragon no longer gives gold. A lot of people have been playing on this. They realize that. It gives stacking buffs. You can go and check what the exact buffs are right here. But the first 4 are permanent. At the 5th, it'll double all of your permanent ones and then give you a true damage buff for 180 seconds. So once you have all the buffs, you can still be picking up the dragon to gain that big boost of power. And it's really strong. Like, it's giving up dragon to get Baron or giving up dragon to get a tower is going to have some hard decisions, and if you're slowly like, oh, we gave up dragon, but we got top tower. That's one dragon they have. Now they're getting closer to that god tier dragon status. So they're trying to make a lot of decisions and a lot of, oh, I can push top. We can just counter it with dragon because that'll do this. This is our new game plan. We just got to delay the game out rather than, all right, we took a tower that doesn't respawn. The dragon does. We'll just get the next dragon. It's just money. We're ahead in money anyway. So I think it's cool. I think it's cool the way it's taking with that. It's just going to take a lot of learning to get around and learn all this stuff. The red buff got changed. Both buffs got changed actually on the jungle camps. They last 30 seconds less now. The red buff slow got nerfed, and the red buff's damage got nerfed early, and a little bit of a buff later on. But the red buff did get a change that it now heals its buff target by 1% of their maximum health per 5 seconds. So gives a bit more than just a damage buff. All right, more stuff. There's the scuttle crab. Everyone's seen that in game. It's fun. Runs away from you. Scared of you. You can go and read more about that. Like I said before, the new jungle buffs give the new the new jungle camps give the buffs with them. Only when you smite them. Remember, you're not going to kill it and get it every time. You have to have a smite, and you have to smite it to get the bonus. But it's when the smite goes off, not when the actual monster dies. So you can smite it to start and get the buff and get the cooldown where you're going on your smite. But you got to be careful that you're not going to get that stolen later on by someone coming in and yoinking it from you. But it does make it so if you're low on health, but you're giving a red buff to someone, you can still smite it to get some health type thing. But you can go and check what the smite bonuses are here in the patch notes. No time to go over it. We're running out of time. Move quick here, move quick here. More jungle stuff, move quick. They changed the names of the red and blue buff as well. Rest in peace. Jungle experiences. Champions gain 20% less for every level they are above the camp they're killing, and it caps at 50%. So when you're level 16 and everyone in the game's level 4 and you're still killing jungle camps to get to 18 and you don't care about leaving the jungle, you're going to get severely penalized for that. So leave the jungle, go make some friends. Red and blue buffs no longer fall off if you're executed by a jungle camp. So you will spawn with that buff again. If you sucked it up so hard and you died to wraiths right after taking red, it is not the end of the world, my friend. You can get that buff back and you can go and try again at that wraith camp with your new item buy. So that's kind of a newbie help tip. And I've seen a lot of people die in diamond in the new jungle, so it's going to help out a lot of people for the first little bit at least. So quality of life. Hunter's machete got changed. Whole bunch of new item changes. This is a bunch of new jungle changes as well. If at all kind of requested, I might go and do a different video explaining all of the different changes to all of that. All of this stuff has been out kind of for a while, so if you don't know about it, go read the patch. These are kind of more in-depth things. The new elixirs, I will say, are really cool. Some of the stuff that you can get out of it. You get tenacity with one of the elixirs. I need to test if that stacks with Merc Treads or not. I'm not entirely sure. It's 25%, so it might because the other one's 35. But we'll check that out. I think the red one is going to be really good because you heal for 10% of the physical damage you do against champions. So you can't heal off minions and whatnot, but that's physical damage you deal. You throw a spear on Pantheon, it does the double damage. Cool, you got 10% of that health back. So that's going to be really nice to have. They changed the way that the regen works, I said earlier, so you gotta change all the items with it as well. New item, Crystalline Bracer, which gives health and regen. It's kind of nice for kind of tanky champions. It builds into Warmogs as well, so Mundo's going to be loving that item. Tear of the Goddess got obviously changed a little bit. Forbidden Idol costs less. Still gives you 10% CDR. 10% CDR for 600 gold, pretty good. And it builds into the Morellonomicon, of course, and other items that I don't build. Chalice got changed a lot. All of the Chalice items got changed a lot. Instead of increasing mana regen by 1% for 1% missing, it restores 1.5% of missing mana every 5 seconds. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But the Chalice was kind of really strong, and they wanted to tone that down a little bit, I guess. There was a bug with the lens as well, sweeping lens. Just visually, it wasn't actually bugging out. Righteous Glory, kind of cool. You gain a 60% movement speed bonus to nearby allies when you're running towards enemies or turrets, and then you can reactivate it, or after 3 seconds, you let out a shockwave that does 80% slow for 1 second. That's an item that'll let you initiate if you don't have an initiator. If you have a support character who can't really initiate unless they can get in, you now have your in. Warmogs kind of changed a little around a little bit. Costs a little bit less, 200 health less. But here's that thing I was talking about earlier. Health restore increased to 3% of your max health if you haven't taken damage within 8 seconds. Kind of cool. Banner of Command is actually going to be really good now. It makes the minion that you buff immune to magic damage, so you can't just wave clear it down. It also gives the Aegis 20 magic resistance to all nearby friends and stuff. So it's going to be a supporty buff. So I might see some supports building this. That's going to be kind of cool to have that. But different things it does for each minion and different stat changes around. You can go and look at that. Raptor Cloak lets you run up to 30% faster over 2 seconds near turrets, which is kind of cool, which builds into the Arm Wrecker, which does the same kind of arm wrecking thing, but it has that 30% bonus movement speed thing in there. One thing that I didn't get, 30 armor on the Raptor's Cloak. Raptor's Cloak builds into Arm Wrecker, apparently, but Arm Wrecker is not giving armor. Unless it's just not saying it there. I'm confused with that. Chain Vest now builds out of a cloth armor, so a cloth armor will effectively build into every armor item in the game. That is awesome as a top lane perspective because you often start with cloth armor in a lot of matchups. A bunch of changes in golds and prices. Warden's Mail no longer builds out of a chain vest. It's 2 cloth armors, so remember that. Don't try and build a chain vest to build your Randuins. You'll be sad. Null Mantle now builds into every magic resist item. It costs a little bit more, gives you a little bit more kind of gold value. For 20 for 4, 25 for 5. Makes sense. Negatron is out of there, so it's a lot easier to get magic resistance. You don't have to save up for that Negatron, buy Null Mantle, and be like, oh, I wanted to actually get a Banshees, but I can't now. Null Mantle builds into everything. Abyssal Scepter, gold reduced, magic resist increased, items better. Couple different minor stat move arounds on a bunch of items. Quicksilver got a huge magic resist nerf, but a big cost nerf is buff, I guess. It's easier to buy, so that's going to be nice. A lot of times you wouldn't build it into the Merc skin. You just wanted it for the Quicksilver active, so now you can just buy it for that, which is going to be cool. And Merc skin got completely destroyed, so it costs a little bit less, but it has 10 magic resist less as well. Stacking items now start with 5 stacks. Cost 200 more, but they start with 5 stacks, but they lose half of those stacks rather than 1/3 when you die. So it's a bigger gamble, but you get more chance to succeed with more power when you buy your gambling item. Sword of the Divine, Executioner's Calling, and Atma's Rest in Peace, Atmog's Gangplank. But those items are gone. You will be missed. They changed around for lower level people who haven't hit 30 yet, the levels that you unlock different summoners at. If that applies to you, you can check that out. There's some shop quality of life changes. Scoreboard changes. They have the dragon buff on there, so you can keep track of how many dragon buffs each team has, which is kind of nice. So you can kind of adjust your strategy to there. Let's see. Oh, they moved around. Persistent buffs and debuffs now show above your character portrait, so I had to move around my overlay for one. A lot of overlays are going to get messed up for that. It's kind of harder to see. If you get used to it, it'll be fine. But what they changed to move them over there is really nice. They put a cooldown on all of your active items above all of your abilities, so you can just kind of eye down and you're no longer seeing, all right, that looks like 12/13 of the pie is remaining, so I think that it's going to be off cooldown in approximately 52.6 seconds. You no longer have to estimate that. It gives you just a countdown timer, so you know your Zhonya's is going to be up in 5 seconds rather than 6, which will make the difference in a lot of plays, going in and going, oh, it was 1 second until it was up. I misjudged the pie symbol. Which of course will still be there in your inventory. You'll be able to see the cooldown just based on it ticking down with the shadowed out pie thing. Leave Buster. People who quit the game will now be more punished severely. Awesome, especially in ranked. So don't leave your ranked game or you'll get ban hammered, apparently. Bunch of other things. You can now give people on the enemy team gifts. People on your team gifts. So if you're feeling very generous and rich, you can send a skin their way. That's pretty awesome as well. Tryndamere had a bug where spinning slash was dealing double damage in rare cases, so that's fixed as well. I didn't realize that was there. Bunch of other stuff got changed in there. The new skins, Constable Trundle, Captain Volibear, real cool. They got Black Widow Evelyn, or Safecracker Evelyn, and and Twitch. Can't think of the name off the top of my head. Sly Cooper Twitch. Yes, they have Sly Cooper Twitch there. The new Skarner skin that I'm so happy for. I will send 10,000 riot points for that skin. I'm excited to play that. The new champ has a skin. Awesome. And Kog'Maw also got a Battlecast skin. I'm really hyped for that Skarner skin. And that is the end of it, ladies and gentlemen, for the patch 420 review. I am sorry that went so long. I knew it was going to go long. I was trying to go through it quick, and it still came into just 30 minutes. 1 second ago, we ticked over 30, so I'm going to keep it short. Thank you for watching it, guys. If you actually made it through, I won't blame you if you didn't and you skipped down to this part. But anyway, guys, check out my other videos on YouTube if you found this helpful, or if you want to check out future patch note reviews. Subscribe button's there. There's also a link to my stream underneath this video. I normally stream and tell people this, but I've been doing these patch note reviews so people that missed it on stream aren't left out there. So check out my stream. Make sure to follow there if you want to check that out. And Facebook and Twitter links are there as well. Thank you for watching, guys. Sorry again for going so long, and we'll see you next time.